Good morning, room 13. It is Miss T here, and we are going to continue on with our read aloud. We have been reading the story Frog and Toad Are Friends. We are on chapter 3. Let's see what chapter 3 is called. The next chapter is called A Lost Button. What do you think is going to happen in this story, A Lost Button? Think about the title. Think about what do you think might happen? What kind of object do you think they might talk about in the story? I'm thinking maybe they'll be talking about a button that is lost. Let's read and see. So we are reading Frog and Toad Are Friends. A Lost Button, Chapter 3. Toad and Frog went for a long walk. They walked across a large meadow. They walked in the woods. They walked along the river. At last, they went back home to Toad's house. "Oh, drat," said Toad. "Oh, not only do my feet hurt, but I have lost one of the buttons on my jacket." "Oh no, what was the problem?" Toad lost a button from his jacket. Let's see if they can find it. "Don't worry," said Frog. "We will go back to all the places that we walked. We will soon find your button, Toad." They walked back to the large meadow and they began to look for the button in the tall grass. So where did they go to look? In the large meadow to look in the tall grass. "Here's your button," cried Frog. "That's not my button," said Toad. "That button is black. My button is white." Toad put the black button in his pocket. So what color did Toad say his button was? Toad said he has a white button. So we're looking for a white button. A sparrow flew down. Excuse me," said the sparrow. "Did you lose a button? I found one." "That's not my button," said Toad. "That button has 2 holes, and my button has 4 holes." Toad put the button with 2 holes in his pocket. How many holes did Toad's button have? 4. So it was not the 2-hole button. He needs a white button with 4 holes. They went back to the woods and looked on the dark paths. "Here's your button," said Frog. "That's not my button," cried Toad. "That button is small. My button is big." Toad put the small button in his pocket. Okay, so we have another detail about Toad's button. We know that it is what color? White. We know that it has 4 holes and that it is a big button. A raccoon came out from behind a tree. "I hear that you're looking for a button," he said. "Here is one that I just found." "That's not my button," wailed Toad. "That button is square. My button was round." Toad put the square button in his pocket. So what shape was Toad's button? It was round. So we know that it is white, has 4 holes, it's big, and what shape? Round. Let's see. I hope they can find it. Frog and Toad went back to the river. They looked for the button in the mud. "Here's your button," said Frog. "That's not my button," shouted Toad. "That button is thin, and my button was thick." So we have another detail. His button is thick, not thin. Toad put the thin button in his pocket. He was very angry. He jumped up and down and started screaming, "Oh, the whole world is covered with buttons, and not one of them is mine." Oh, and there he is, angry, screaming, and feeling quite frustrated. Why is Toad feeling frustrated? Because they keep finding buttons, but none are the one he needs. Toad ran home and he slammed the door. And there, on the floor of his house, he saw his white, four-holed, big, round, thick button. "Oh," said Toad, "it was here the whole time. What a lot of trouble I've made for Frog." So where was his button? It was in his house. So now he's feeling kind of bad because Frog helped him look for that button. Toad took all of the buttons out of his pocket. He took out his sewing box and he took it down from the shelf. Toad sewed the buttons all over his jacket. The next day, Toad gave his jacket to Frog. Frog thought that it was so beautiful. He put it on and he jumped for joy. None of the buttons fell off. Toad had sewed them all on very well. So, what did Toad do with all the buttons that they had collected? He sewed them on a jacket, and who did he give it to? He gave it to his friend Frog, and Frog looks very happy with the beautiful new jackets. That was a nice thing to do. And that is the end of A Lost Button. Check back next time to see what happens in Chapter 4. See you soon.